So I just pulled up in front of Eric's house, and I want to know what he thinks about this camera. And now that he has the Canon R, does he even need the Canon M50 anymore? And I also want to talk about some of the shortcomings that I think having two completely different camera systems poses for me, and also some of the things I've run into with the M50 specifically. All right, so let's go talk to Eric, and then after that, probably head back to my house, and I'll give you my thoughts on it and what I'm hoping to do over the next coming months. All right, so we're here at Eric's house, and I'm curious what he thinks about the M50 after all this time. Now, he's got a brand new Canon camera that's actually better than the M50, and it has all of the same features as the M50, right, except in a much higher quality camera with a better sensor, and he can use his better lenses. So I'm curious to see what you think about, do you need the M50 anymore?
Well, that's the thing. When we first got the M50s, we got them, like we've said, mostly for video stuff like this, and then we actually realized that they're really good for taking pictures too. And the small size and lightweight and everything makes it great to just have a camera that you can throw in your pocket.
Do you ever use it for pictures?
I really haven't used it for that, just because of the controls, the functionality of it. I'm so used to the 5D4, and I don't even have to think about the controls. It's just, everything's just automatic. I can just take shots, and if I want to just have something small, I can put a small lens on there and go out and shoot with that. But now that I started using the Canon R, the new mirrorless camera, it's full frame, I've been using that a lot more now, and I've really gotten used to the controls and how that works. And now when I go back to the M50, it's basically the same functions.
Just smaller.
It's just a smaller version of it. So it's actually really great to actually go back to the M50 now and be able to use that, and kind of second nature already know how it's all set up.
Yeah, but do you? Not really, right?
For taking photographs, I haven't, no.
You haven't, right. So this is what I find with the M50, and I'm in like a very strange place, because I'm using a totally different system. I'm using a Nikon DSLR for all my photography, and I use the M50 for video. But I was up in Massachusetts last week, and I took the M50 with me into Boston for the day. And I like that it's small and I can throw it in my pocket, but I'm always wanting for the depth of field that's missing, and I'm wanting for just when I use the M50 with the small lenses that it comes with, I find myself wanting a little bit. When I put like your L glass on it, it's fine, but then it's defeating the purpose of having a small camera.
Right.
So I would like something that's more of an all-in-one camera situation, with the M50. And the one thing I find that when I use it, the body is so small. I use it like a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like I pull it up and I use it like my cell phone.
You kind of hold it up
Yeah,
like this.
I am not comfortable using it up to my eye. No matter what I try to do, it just doesn't feel right to me.
Right, and that may become, because we're coming from a place of using big DSLRs, we're just used to using it that way. But yeah, it doesn't feel like, even though it takes really good pictures, it doesn't feel like a legitimate camera that a pro would use.
Well, right, and just the form factor, the way it fits in your hand, it feels like a cell phone with the touchscreen on the back, and you use it like a phone.
Right.
So I use it like a phone, instead of like a camera.
Which is a good thing, because it's really, you're going to get better pictures from that than you are from your phone, obviously, so it's really good for that. But
unless it's really bright out. And then I have trouble seeing the screen, which I find is an issue for me sometimes.
Oh, like the rear LCD
Yeah, like
screen,
if it's a beautiful sunny day like today, and I was walking around Boston, I couldn't tell if I was overexposed or not. The screen doesn't get bright enough, so that I found to be an issue. Whereas through a viewfinder, that stuff doesn't matter. You can kind of see it.
Right. When you look through the viewfinder, everything's it's basically like a live exposure. Everything is what you see is what the exposure is going to be. So the viewfinder for something like that is really good.
Yeah. So are you going to keep yours? Now that you have the R, you really don't need it.
The M50 right now I'm keeping for video purposes, definitely. I don't see myself using it for photography, especially because now that I have the R, it's a whole new world in mirrorless. And like Bill was saying before, with the full frame sensor of the Canon R, you can really see the difference right away as soon as you start using it.
I have a question. So let me ask you, because I don't know about it. Canon makes another full frame mirrorless, the RP.
Right.
So what is that? Is that just a less featured R?
Yeah, the RP is basically like a stripped down version of the R. It's a full frame mirrorless, but it's not fully fledged. The image quality is going to be a little bit different. The high ISO performance is going to be a little bit less.
So it's not the same sensor.
Right. The maximum shutter speed, instead of being 1/8,000th of a second, is 1/4,000th. Every little thing along the line, every little check mark is just like one step below what the R is. So it's really just a stripped down version, kind of, I guess, to put it in other people's, the market of people who are in a different budget, to be able to get them into the Canon R line also.
I wish Nikon would do something like that, because I noticed the RP still has the screen that flips out.
Right.
It has the full frame sensor, so if you're putting good lenses on it, I can't see a downside to it. It has more pixels than my Nikon sensor.
Right.
So, I'm really starting to think, like, maybe it's time I do jump over fully into Canon and start with the full frame. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to do that. I really don't. I want Nikon to, come on, I want the camera that I want. Let's make it.
Well, I have a video I'm working on now. I spent a lot of time with the Canon R last week in Disney World, and I have a video I'm working on right now that talks about a lot of this stuff, and it's really a great experience that I had.
Yeah. Well, I used the M50 in Boston, and it was great to have a pocketable camera in a city. It was raining, so I was glad I didn't have a big camera bag with me. All I had with me was the kit lens on it and the body itself, and I was able to put it in my pocket. Very simple day to walk around. I was with my family. I'll throw some of the images from that day in here. Now, there are some decent images, but none of them, and here's an image I took. We stopped at a beach in Cape Cod, and my daughter and her boyfriend jumped out of the car by the beach, and I grabbed, the closest camera was my D750 with a 70-200 on it, and I took this picture. Look at the difference in this picture. Look at the depth of field. This is what I'm looking for when I'm out shooting, and I can't get it unless I have big L lenses on this little camera. So I'm in that spot where I'm not really sure what I want to do.
Right, and that's the trade-off. Is you're just looking to get snapshots, family snapshots, and things like that here and there, or you're looking for those family moments, things just like that, to be professional level.
Right, a step above.
Right, a step above everything else. Right.
Right. Well, the M50 will definitely take your pictures to the next level if you're using a phone.
Right.
So you can definitely, the editing is much better. You can take them to your computer and really work in the shadows and the highlights. So as far as that goes, it's a great little camera. If you want something small and portable instead of your phone, that's where it really shines.
Right. And it's funny, I just mentioned to my daughter last week, because she's been using the Canon T3i or T5i for the past few years that she's been using, and she took that down to Florida with her last week also. And at the end of the trip, I said to her, you know what, why don't you take my M50 that I only use for video, I'm not using it for photography really, so I'm not using it that much. I said, why don't you take that and start using that, start getting used to that, because that's really where the future is. Not only in the mirrorless part of it, but the technology and how the menus work and how all the functions and everything work. That's really kind of the future, and start using that. It's smaller, it's lighter, and there's a lot more options as far as what you can do with it, rather than keep using your old Canon DSLR from 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I definitely see the advantage of this, and I see how you're really, he messages me privately and he's like I'm really loving this camera, and so I can see, and we have friends that shoot Nikon, and my friend Guy has been telling me that the Z6 and the Z7 are the way to go, and he actually sold off his DSLRs, and now he only has the mirrorless cameras. So I'm starting to think maybe it's time to head that way. I'm not sure, because I would like one camera system for everything. I don't like having two bags, a Nikon bag for photography and my video bag with all my Canon stuff.
Right.
I want it all to be one thing.
Yeah, well, I'm going to let Bill borrow my Canon R for a few days. He can
boy.
check that out, and then maybe do a video about that, because I'm going to be putting one together on my own also.
And what's great about that is I'm familiar with it now, because I've been using the M50, so I'm not going to, when you would hand me your DSLR years ago, it was like he handed me a chunk of black plastic I didn't know what to do with. Now at least I understand how the Canon menu systems work and everything. So I'm looking forward to doing a little shooting with it.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right. I was going to go back to my house. Well, we kind of wrapped it up here, so
Yeah.
we'll just end it here. So is there a video that you would say would be good for them people to watch? Oh, you know what? Here's a link to our Canon M50 playlist.
Right.
And then here's the playlist that Eric's been doing for the Canon R, so you can compare what we're talking about here.
Yep.
Okay. See you in the next one.